Welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen's Call podcast with host Lane Nordlund.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cattlemen's Call podcast. Lane Nordlund joining you here today. And man, oh man, the week that we recorded this podcast, we had an inch of rain in one day here in north central Montana, and we needed it. Now, my neighbors who farm were not very happy because they rolled out the combines the day before to try to put up what is left of their wheat crop, but us in the cattle business, we're going to applaud and be thankful for the rain. But one thing that, of course, we're going to be focused on here today is preparing tomorrow's leaders. And that's something the King Ranch Institute does all the time, whether it is their master's program or their leadership series that they have for producers. That's going to be our focus here today. But before we get to the meat of the podcast, just a big shout out to our friends at Richie Waters for bringing you today's conversation. We'll hear more from Richie in just a few moments. But as I mentioned, the King Ranch Institute for Ranch Management is based out of Kingsville, Texas, and they focus on leadership and philanthropy in order to give back to the ranching community, honoring its founders, the famous King Ranch, of course. In 2003, in collaboration with Texas A&M University, King Ranch Institute was created to educate the next generation of cattlemen and women. And today, Dr. Rick Machen, Executive Director of the Institute, and Garrett Stribling, a recent graduate, are joining us to talk about the Institute and its legacy. First off, Dr. Machen, thanks for joining us. Garrett as well. How's the weather in your neck of the woods? I just said we got rain, which we've needed. It's probably going to throw off my PRF insurance, but I can't complain about that. But Dr. Machen, how's the weather in your neck of the woods today?
Yeah, it's been great, Lane. It's a pleasure to be with you. We've been blessed in South Texas. Really, Texas as a whole has been blessed with rain and our pasture conditions. I think Garrett will echo this. Our pasture conditions in South Texas are the best they've been. Unfortunately, our neighbors to the north in the hill country they've just been blasted. Some of the worst flooding in history, tremendous loss of life and property. It's a very, very sad situation up there northwest of San Antonio. But in the aftermath of that, one of the things that's really heartwarming is the overwhelming response. The overwhelming response from people all over the country, really all over the world, that have showed up to help out their fellow mankind in the aftermath and try to clean that up. So, but yeah, largely Texas has been blessed with really timely rainfall.
No, very, very difficult times there in the hill country. And in our previous podcasts over the last few weeks, we made sure and discuss that, especially the ones that we had during the Cattle Industry Convention and caught up with some Texas producers there. But difficult to see what people are going through, especially as a girl dad myself, and seeing what happened there with so many campers and families going through devastation. But of course, there's always things to complain about in the cattle business, but you know what, we have to focus on the things that are really important. And there's a lot worse things going on in the world sometimes than what we bicker about in the cattle business. So our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the folks there in the hill country and the families impacted by that flooding here today as well. So getting choked up here today, guys. And but Garrett, for yourself, how are things shaping up here today in your part of the world?
To echo Dr. Machen, really good. I mean, so where we're located is about 90 miles southwest of Kingsville, about 200 miles straight south of San Antonio. So we've been blessed with ample rain as well. It's warm. I'd say it's been over 100 the last couple of days, but for us, it's not unusual. But man, we're sitting really good from a pasture condition standpoint. But unfortunately, PRF for this interval isn't so great. But you know what? We'll take the rain.
Well, like they say, if you got to pay your premium, that's okay. So, because you don't need to buy hay. But as I mentioned here today, I look forward to learning more about the Institute and all it does provide producers, not just in Texas, but across the nation as well. So, Dr. Machen, can you just give us a bit of a history behind the Institute that was started there in the early 2000s? What programs are offered, and how many folks have gone through it?
Yeah, sure, Lane. So in 2003, the King Ranch turned 150 years old. And the family, being very philanthropic, wanted to do something to recognize and celebrate, if you will, 150 years of family ownership of one of the largest ranches in the country. So they recognized the need, even at that point in time, for professional management of the larger complex ranches across the country. And so they came up with the idea to form the King Ranch Institute in collaboration with Texas A&M University, Kingsville, 2-year Master of Science program. At the time, it was the only one, only Master of Science program specifically in ranch management that was offered in the country. To date, we've had 59 young men and women come through the program, graduate, and those alumni are scattered all across the country. We're very proud and very fortunate to have that network of alumni that are out there serving the industry.
Now, there's also a leadership component as well. Am I correct in that folks can go through that? Obviously, isn't the 2-year masters? Is that am I correct in? Because I've seen folks post about it online, I guess.
Yeah, so we in the past we've had a young leaders program where we partnered with NCBA. We've kind of temporarily put that on hold. There is also our outreach education component, a series of lectureships and an annual symposium that we do the first Thursday and Friday in November. And that outreach education component is available to anybody that wants to register and participate. We offer most of those events online, so you can participate from the comfort of your home or ranch office. And then most of those are offered face-to-face here in Kingsville if you want to make the trek down here and join us in South Texas.
Garrett, jumping over to you, talk about your time in the program. When did you graduate from it, but also what led you up to participating in it? Where did you grow up? And then we'll maybe dive into what you're up to now. But what was that journey like, and what's the process been like for you and your family?
Yeah, Lane, I say I'm not the most typical graduate. So I grew up in a little town called Scurry, Texas, about 300 people hours southeast of Dallas. My dad ran some lease country for some folks, but not big operators by any means. But always had kind of a passion for livestock in the ranching business. Had a great opportunity in high school to work for a gentleman with quite a few cows. And then ended up at Texas A&M, got a degree in animal science. I graduated from there in 2016, and was able to know the right people, made some good relationships there, and was able to spend the next 3 years at 44 farms there in Cameron, Texas. Kind of unfamiliar with the seed stock business, but kind of learned a lot there. We talk about selling quite a few bulls a year, pretty extensive operation. So spent 3 years there, learned a lot, thoroughly enjoyed my time there. And then I got an opportunity to come to the Institute in 2019. And my wife and I had been married 3 years at that point. Actually had a little one on the way. And, came down to Kingsville, met with Dr. Machen and Dr. Mathis, as it was there before them. And, didn't have, I guess, the clearest sense. I'd known about the Institute, and I'd really thought a lot about it. But just it's always a timing deal. And we went down there and we visited with them, and then we went and visited with management at the King Ranch, who at the time was Dave Delaney, and then another graduate of the program, Tyler Braden. And just really opened my eyes to the opportunities there, and a different way of thinking about the business and the long-term strategic planning, the land management aspects of it. And for me, I was at that point in my career, like I knew a lot of the nuts and bolts, but I didn't have that skill set to go to the next level. So spent some time visiting with them. Thankfully they let me in. I'm sure they did look at my test scores or transcript, but they let me in, and thoroughly enjoyed it. It's such a unique program in the way it's structured, and then just the opportunities that arise from that program and the network that's built in there. But so I went through that program during COVID, which was interesting, like a lot of people. But I think it gave me a little bit more unique experience in some other graduates, but I think for all the better. Gave you a lot of time to really focus. And I mean, we had, ample time being COVID and kind of stuck. So we really got to get into the nitty gritty on a lot of different topics and go into a lot of depth on things that I hadn't previously. So I graduated from there in 2021. And during my time at the Institute, you work as a consultant, I guess is probably the biggest value to me at that time, is you get to really visit with a lot of different operations and work for them and trying to help them work through their problems. And so I was actually, while I was there, able to work on 2 different projects for the East Foundation, headquartered in San Antonio, but really based out of Hebronville. And so when I graduated, there was an opportunity there, and I took it as a kind of a unit foreman position, and shortly thereafter moved up to ranch business manager, and have been here just over 4 years now.
Well, thanks for that a quick preview of your journey of going through the program, and we'll dive more into some of those topics you brought up there too. And speaking of 44 Farms, I had dinner with Bob and some of the 44 crew there the other day down in Dillon, Montana. It was good catching up with him and learning more about what some of the new programs that they're up to right now. But Dr. Machen, jumping back to you here, as I'm out and about and working with my in-laws or my dad, and there's always times where I feel like, you know what, I should have maybe not stayed out so late recreating in college and paid a little more attention at those 8 a.m. ag courses that we had at Montana State University, because most of the time, every class I had started at 8 a.m. That's College of Ag. I think that's not just Montana State, but a lot of courses for undergrads across the nation. But when we look at this master's program, what type of courses do folks like Garrett and other participants really focus on? Are there some that they can choose, electives, or are everyone going through the same courses? What is that like? What is the curriculum in the syllabus looking like?
Yeah, it's a great question, and the curriculum is 30 credit hours, and as I've indicated, it's 2 fall semesters, 2 spring semesters, and a summer internship. But the courses we have a complement of ranch management courses that are unique to the Institute, and then our students will take animal science courses, range wildlife science courses, and really probably the most important ones they take are the business and finance, financial accounting, or managerial accounting, and the finance courses that they take over in the business college. That really help them shore up their business management skills and knowledge and understanding. Our students, the ideal student that comes to us has appreciable experience in the ranching industry, whether that's horsemanship, managing cattle, managing irrigation, managing wildlife, whatever the case might be. But they need to have experience when they come to us. Historically, our students, we've required them to have 3 to 5 years experience beyond their undergraduate degree. And that's worked well. It makes for a more mature student. It allows them to demonstrate that they're passionate about the industry. And both of those things are conducive to success in our program. Of late, we've decided that we've over the years, we know that we've missed out on some students that pursued other education or just went into the industry. And so we're softening that requirement a bit. And we're going to start looking more seriously at students maybe that are just finishing an undergraduate degree. That said, they're still going to have an appreciable experience or background in ranching. We simply don't have the time in the 2 very short years that they're here in the program to get them up to speed on the daily grind, the chores that they're going to be involved in and asked to supervise when they leave here. So if they've got, if they're ranch kids, grew up ranching with a dad or grandfather or uncle, those are ideal. But to Garrett's point earlier, they don't have to grow up on a ranch. They can gain that experience, through working, however they get there, just like Garrett talked about. So yeah, ranch kids are ideal. but just anybody with experience and a passion for the industry, we're interested in them.
Garrett, from your perspective, what was one of the courses that maybe surprised you a little bit and you're like, I don't know what this is going to be like, but you really gained a lot of insight and it's really helping you in your day to day?
I would say there's a course that I was surprised of. Well, okay, I'll take that back. So there is a class there at the Institute called Systems Thinking. And it is a framework, a mindset of really how to think and tackle problems from a long-term perspective where you don't know all the answers, but how to structure your thoughts and begin to build out and model what opportunities, pitfalls are coming into the future. And so that's kind of the first thing that we talk about at the Institute. And as an incoming student, really the first exposure you have is to this systems thinking approach, and something that was new to me, and how do you really begin to think and tackle these things? Because the ranching is probably one of the most complex businesses there are. Just the financial implications of the market, long-term asset management strategies of land and whatnot. And the ranching business has changed so much over the years. And it starts to begin to give you that framework of how to really think about this business. So something that at the first time I sat down at it, I'm going to say healthily skeptical of how I would apply this in my future life. But as you work through that course and then you begin to apply it to the additional coursework and the projects that you do at the Institute, it was truly eye-opening. And still today, things that we do here at the ranch and at the foundation, we use it in everything that we do.
And going from that course that maybe you scratched your head about at first, but are utilizing every day, what were some of those courses or hands-on experiences that you really enjoyed the most and are utilizing more and more each day as you continue your journey in the business?
So for me, I was undergraduate animal science, and at Texas A&M you have a science option, so which really prepares you for graduate school, veterinary school. And 18-year-old me thought that was what I needed to be taken. And in hindsight, as I got out of college and got into the real world and started to look at financial statements for the business, I was not as well prepared as I'd have liked to been. And so really the financial aspect, I would say, is probably the biggest draw to me to the Institute, was to really get that business management and finance background. Picked up a lot of strategic planning and thinking along the way, but the finance classes are extremely valuable. And then the projects that we do that tie directly into the coursework really makes it such a unique opportunity. The Institute has done such a good job cultivating relationships with ranching operations across the country, which makes it unique because it is based in South Texas, which seems pretty localized area, but the projects that we do span coast to coast, north to south, border to border. We work for a multitude of ranches with real world problems, or not necessarily problems, but questions, right? And so, we were able to come in, with guidance from Dr. Machen and the rest of the team there, but giving us the background and the skill set to begin to think about and model out what these ranches were wanting and needing. And from water projects to different enterprise evaluations, land purchase, like land acquisition modeling, just overall financial analysis of the business. So they're just the coursework is excellent, but it really sets you up to be successful into the project. That's the true value. And I think what makes the Institute so unique is it's such a small class size. It's 3 students a cohort. And I think that has helped cultivate those relationships with these ranching operations because it's a small group. And to our benefit, these operations would really open up to us and let us be an integral part of their operation to really see and gather the information necessary to get to do a good job, to give them consultation result that they needed and wanted.
Yep. Well, before we get to more of the curriculum and the faculty that students get to work with, I do need to just take a quick break. We're going to hear from our friends at Ritchie. We'll be back right after this.
The confidence of having water in front of these cattle all the time was very nice. Having good, clean water to our cattle every single day is something that we kind of take for granted, but it shows up in a lot of your breed back on every herd. Good, clean water every single day is very important for this operation to continue at a high level.
Ritchie, because hydration is everything.
Again, thank you to our friends at Ritchie for bringing you our conversation today, discussing the King Ranch Institute, preparing tomorrow's leaders, and joining us again, Garrett Stribling and Dr. Rick Machen. And Dr. Machen, as we talk here today, let's shine a light on your faculty that are a part of the Institute and how the curriculum that's developed for the course is utilized, but also updated with the challenges that obviously come up and that we face in the livestock business. What's it like working with some outstanding faculty?
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We have a very small faculty here that are associated with the Institute, and I can briefly shine a spotlight on them and then talk about the other faculty around the campus that support our program. We're blessed to have Dr. Robert Wells that joined us last November as the Paul Janot Endowed Chair in Ranch Management. Robert came to us from the Noble Research Institute in Ardmore, Oklahoma, after a 20-plus year, a very successful career there as a livestock consultant. We're very, very fortunate to have him as a full-time faculty member with primary responsibility for mentoring and oversight of our students. And effective next month, we'll have two other partial appointments that we're really excited about. Dr. Ben Turner, who is an associate professor in Ag and Natural Resource Management, will be the first holder of the Underbrink Endowed Chair. And his focus is largely the systems thinking that Garrett mentioned earlier. He teaches our systems thinking course every fall, and he leads the systems thinking lectureship that we offer as well. So we've been associated with Dr. Turner, but we're just excited to have him as a formal part of the Institute. Another new appointment with the Institute is Dr. Fidel Hernandez. Fidel is a Regents Professor in Wildlife Science, internationally recognized for his work primarily with bobwhite quail, but has significant interest, grew up on a ranch, very practical in his approach to wildlife science, and has an interest in grazing management, livestock wildlife interactions. And so he'll be the first holder of the Killam Chair, and we're excited to have him. So 3 faculty that are formally associated with the Institute. We have a variety of other animal science, range science faculty in the business college that teach courses for us, for our students, and help mentor our students through the projects that Garrett mentioned earlier. And I want to just come back and briefly highlight those because that's really the core of the curriculum. Yeah, the formal classes that they take with other graduate students, those are important. And as Garrett said, they set the stage for and prepare students for the projects. But the real world service projects, case study projects that we do with cooperating ranches is the core of our curriculum. And as Garrett said, those ranches are scattered literally all across the country. We've done projects with ranches in Mexico. But the goal of those projects is to put our students in management decision-making scenarios. And some of those, we want those to be large enough such that when they leave here and they go to whatever the next step in their career is, there won't be a lot of decisions that'll intimidate them because they've been through that process of making a big management decision, and they're real world. There's a ranch, host ranch, or a feed yard on the other side of the table that's anticipating those results. And so those projects are a huge part of our preparing students to leave here and go be contributors in the workforce.
Another part too that you touched on too is just outreach and other educational opportunities for producers. From both of your perspectives, why is it so important to have continuing education and updated continuing education courses for producers to participate? Because I think we've all heard a producer say, you know what, I'm not going to college. I've grown up on this place. I'm just going to go right into just staying here and raising cattle and doing what I know. Well, even if they do that, they should still look at some continuing education because we can always better ourselves. But how important is it to have continuing education courses available, but also updated courses along the way?
Yeah, we think we think it's critically important, and I always go back to a comment that Randy Block with CattleFax made probably in an NCBA presentation 2 or 3, 4 years ago. And the comment that he made was the pace of change will never be as slow as it was today. And so as we think about how fast things are changing in the industry, where markets are today, how just the feeding of cattle and processing of cattle has changed. If you're going to be competitive and sustainable long term in this industry, you got to keep up with change. And you got to keep up with the new technology, the new information that's out there. And so whether you do that, through some of our outreach education events, through the extension service events or land grant college events that are offered, probably not a better place, at least on an annual basis, than the Cattlemen's College at the NCBA convention. But we just think it's critically important for producers to stay up to date and educated on the latest happenings, technology trends in the industry to maximize the chances that your business is going to be sustainable. And then, Garrett, I'll let you pick it up from there.
Yeah, I'll echo you, Dr. Machen. I mean, from our perspective, is you don't know what you don't know, and so if you're not out there actively seeking knowledge, you're getting left behind. Like you said, we're at the fastest pace of change in this industry we've ever been. I mean, the technology out there today is just unreal, and the changing demographics in our industry. And we talk a lot about labor. I mean, here in South Texas, across the country. So there's all this new opportunity out there, and producers need to be up to date with all that. I mean, just as the business has changed, and you just can't do the things that grandpa or granddad used to always do. And so we send our guys to the lectureships there at King Ranch and other learning opportunities. We're pretty big on personal development. And we use that as a recruiting tool for our unit foreman. Is we want people that want that opportunity. We want to provide it for them as well. But from an overall outfit standpoint, those are the type of people we want to employ. That kind of lifelong learner mentality. It's truly valuable. Someone who has that innate curiosity to always better themselves and always learn more. And so for us, we put a lot of priority on that, and not only providing those opportunities for those guys, but wanting those people that pursue them as well.
Now, a question some of our listeners might be asking is, I've gone to undergrad. I have a job right now, but I'm looking for maybe the next step to really become a better manager, a better leader on these ranches or their own operations. But they look at this, maybe they're thinking, gosh darn, I just paid off my student debt from undergrad. What are there scholarships? What is the cost to participating and working to receive the master's certificate?
Yeah, Lane, that's one of the things that's really unique about our program. And we're very, very blessed and fortunate that when the program was implemented in 2003, again, the King Ranch family being very philanthropic, and many of their friends got together and they put together endowments that allow us today to fully fund our 6 students when they come back to graduate school. So we've got fellowships and scholarships that start at $48,000 per year for a single student, and progress up to $55,000 for a student that comes that brings a family with them. So we can provide for them financially. Maybe they don't get to live in a mansion on the hill while they're here, and I see Garrett grinning. but they get to be comfortable and can leave here without incurring additional financial debt. And so, again, we're very fortunate that they had the foresight 22 years ago to say, look, if we're going to expect these young men and women to leave the workforce and come back and pursue a graduate degree, we need to provide for them. And so we're very fortunate that we can do that.
And Garrett, you were smiling there too. But walk us through the day to day. You and your wife coming in. You probably had a few head of horses, possibly too. Just walk us through the day to day of what it was like actually going through the program and working with peers and learning from them. And just try to paint a picture for our listeners that have heard about the institute, but it's not just about being in a classroom all day either.
Absolutely. I mean, so to start, I mean, so you're a graduate student, so it's 8 to 5, professional. You know, your nice jeans, button down shirt. I mean, it's not a flip flops and sweatpants type of college kid experience. I mean, it's a professional degree, and so we kind of would hold each other to that standard. And you really meet a super great group of individuals when you get there. So the year I was there, my incoming cohort plus the students ahead of me, lots of guys from different parts of the world. You get the far north, Montana, the Wyoming, the Idaho. There was another guy from Texas, and you really become kind of a family. Because as soon as you get there, first thing you do as a student, you're given a project with little to no information of what the true goal of it is, other than build a management plan. Here's the problem, but it works, and there's a reason for it. And I won't spoil it for any future students, but it's truly valuable to work through that. And you've got some guys that have been there a year ahead of you. You lean on them from a mentor, and then you're quickly thrown into a project with them where they are your mentor. Because they've done this already. They've been here a year. They're going to lead you through a project for a ranch. And so you really get close to these guys, and they become someone you lean on, because it's a pretty rigorous, it's a really rigorous program. I mean, I felt that I was a fairly intelligent individual coming into this, and it stretched me and pressured me. But everybody in there is there for that reason. I've done the nuts and bolts. I've been outside. I understand that I want to take that next step. And so you really kind of feed off of each other, and you compete almost, which makes it entertaining. You get a lot of different personalities in there, and but it's a pretty tight knit group, and you support each other, you help each other out, because at the end of the day, a lot of these projects, until you kind of get to the end, you're working with your peers. And I don't want to give a subpar report to a board of directors for any company whatsoever, right? We want to hold ourselves to the standard that the Institute has set forth. And so you get in there, you have a lot of fun, but it's rigorous, and you work hard and you work together to really put out there, something that at the beginning of it, you would never have thought that you could have generated an end product like that. But it's such a unique experience, and it really does push you to kind of dig deep and get out of your comfort zone. And it really makes you a better manager, just overall better individual. But the guys and gals that you go through that program with, you form a bond and some lifelong friendships throughout that, because you've kind of gone through the ringer by the time you're through with those 2 years.
Where are some of the ranches that some of your cohort or other classmates are working on now? And Dr. Machen, maybe you could share more of some of these. Maybe they're well known, like the East Foundation, or maybe they're a small family operation that someone's working on too. What are some of these operations that some of your friends are on now?
Yeah, so I'll say the cohort above me, kind of my two mentors, Zane Heron and Tyler Gardner. So Zane Heron's with Dixon Creek with the 4.6s up there in Northern Panhandle, and then Tyler Gardner's the manager of the TA Ranch there in Saratoga, Wyoming. Within my cohort, I'm here at East Foundation. Cody Richardson is Pierce Land and Cattle out in Red Bluff, New Mexico. Cord Kilpack is he's with Turner Enterprises there in I think it's Oshkosh, Nebraska. And then Ross Bronson, he's back up in Idaho, and he's got his own consulting company, doing a lot of good for the industry. And that's just my cohort. I mean, Dr. Machen can speak, but while I was there, Tyler Braden was managing the King Ranch. There's a lot of alumni at the Deseret ranches, but I'll let Dr. Machen speak to everyone else.
Yeah, we're really fortunate. 59 alumni, and they're literally scattered across the U.S. Most of them in the western half of the U.S. There's 12 of them that are here in Texas, serving in various capacities. As Garrett mentioned, we've got an alumni, Daryl White, that's the cattle manager for King Ranch right here next door, surrounding us here at the university. So most of them in Texas, a large contingent in Florida. Clint Richardson, one of our graduates, is the vice president for cattle operations for the entirety of Deseret Ranches, the largest cow-calf producer in the country. We've got a significant contingent up in the Northwest, and like you say, managing Matador, the Beaverhead division of Matador Cattle Company, black ranches out of California and Nebraska, all the way down. And we've got some of our alumni that are managing mom and pop operations with 200 head. But the thing that we're really proud of is all of them are contributing to the industry. They're doing a great job for the folks that they're working for. They're active in their community, and we're just really proud of our alumni that are out there serving. And the really neat thing is, Garrett did a great job of talking about the camaraderie and the collegiality that develops while you're here, but that extends through the whole network of alumni. Those alumni that were here and graduated 20 years ago, they all keep up with who's in the program now and where they're going. And so our students leave here graduating knowing they can pick up the phone and call anybody in that alumni network and they'll answer the phone. And so that's been really neat to watch in the time that I've been here, is how involved, sometimes from a distance, but how involved that our alumni stay in the program. And so we're really fortunate to have 59 of them out there in that network.
Yeah, you mentioned Hank Willemsma over there with the Beaverhead division at the Matador. That's where I was hanging out with Bob with 44 Farms. We were down there for a ranch field day. That was really enlightening too. But what I enjoy, especially when you go on a ranch tour with someone that's gone through your programs too, just for them to share their knowledge that they gained there, getting their master's certificate, but also what they're learning and sharing on these bigger operations or smaller operations or wherever they end up. It's just, I don't know, there's just something about it, just the true quality that shines through with this program. And I so much enjoy learning from guys like Hank, and as they work to, keep these historic ranches going up here in Montana, and explaining to people that have more money than I will ever think of having, the importance of our grazing lands and having livestock on them as well. And whether it is these historic ranches or a small ranch that runs a few hundred cows, I still think it's so significant to continue our education there. And from both your perspectives, again, we touched on continuing education, but what is one thing, maybe a tidbit, you want producers of all ages to think about when it comes to being better operators out in the countryside, and understanding that we have challenges, but we need to continue to learn? What's a tidbit that you think that you can share without someone having to sit through a presentation, what they could do today to just become better operators? Dr. Machen, I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, I was going to let Garrett go first while I thought about my answer. I think you make a great point, and we have as managers of a vast majority of the natural resources in this great country, we as ranchers and natural resource managers have a tremendous responsibility to not only to sustain the heritage that we are a proud part of, but the debt and the duty that we owe to society, because we manage the watershed that's providing water to the communities, and we produce the high quality protein that they feed their family. And so we ought not take that lightly. And because we don't have a storefront in town, or a government office in town, or the county, or the state, oftentimes we're kind of forgotten, if you will, or overlooked. And there's a mystique about what goes on behind the ranch gates. And the East Foundation does a phenomenal job with a program they call Behind the Gates, where they bring grade school children out to the ranch and let them have a better experience of what it is that we're doing. And so I think if we do nothing else, there's nobody better than us to tell our story. And we need to be about telling our story, whether you get the opportunity to visit with grade school kids, or you're visiting with the kinfolks that come from the city to visit your family on the ranch. We need to take every opportunity to tell the great story of stewardship and stockmanship and responsible natural resource management that we're doing as a ranching community.
Garrett?
Yeah, I'll agree wholeheartedly with Dr. Machen. I think from a producer's perspective of what can they learn, how can they do better, I think, first it's mindset. And first thing that we always talk about here and at the Institute, ranching is a generational business. And so we need to look at it with a generational mindset. Like Dr. Machen said, we're entrusted with these resources. They're not making any more of them. And so we don't take that lightly. Here at East Foundation, our mission is we promote the advancement of land stewardship through ranching, science, and education. And there's a reason ranching is the first part of that. This landmass that we manage is intact because it's a working cattle ranch. And so we conduct a lot of research from kind of three pillars of research: livestock production and management, wildlife management, conservation, and land stewardship. And so we think a lot about every decision that we make, not only what is it going to affect us the next couple months or until the market flip flops, but somebody's going to be managing this land long after I'm gone, and so long after that person's gone too. And so our goal is to leave the land better than we found it. And so we try to really instill that in our people, but in everyone that we reach. Like Dr. Machen mentioned, we've had over 100 graduate students out here working on master's and PhD projects. Right now, we're averaging about 4,500 kids a year, K through 12, out on our ranches, 100 different days that's happened. And so, but within all that is to really instill the importance of land stewardship and how valuable these natural resources are. And so that's how we think about it. And so from another producer's perspective, I think that's just the main thing. It's just realizes how important it is what you're doing, and how important it is to really take care of the resources that we've been entrusted with. Because again, the only way that we can keep these ranches together is to leave them better than we found them. And so I think that is the biggest takeaway from, or how we think about things is with that mindset.
Now, Garrett, almost going back to a point in a question I posed earlier, if we have a young person listening to this conversation and they're saying, gosh darn, I just do want to come home or go out on my own and make a go of it. I'm never going to be working for a ranch like the Sixes or the East Foundation. And I just need to know the basics of livestock husbandry, animal husbandry, knowing how to take care of cattle, maybe have in a range science, a little bit of a background there too. But what is your message to them about the business aspect of it? Because I think for too long, producers have had that mindset as we just raise cattle or we just feed cattle. How important, why would you push them to look at the business aspect of things and being able to share that with their spouse, with their dad? And again, they might say, I don't need to present to a board of directors. Well, why is it so important to have the business mindset in our ranches in the 21st century?
Well, we talk a lot about sustainability. I mean, it's a buzzword, and we think a lot of it from like an ecological perspective. But our mindset, here at the East Foundation, at the King Ranch Institute, is first and foremost, we need to think about it from an economics perspective. We're going to do the best job we can to manage land in the correct way, manage cattle, wildlife, water in the right way. But at the end of the day, we're running a business, and that business has to be sustainable over time, because if we cannot sustain the business, we cannot sustain our land ownership. And at that point, all the progress that we've made towards our ecological and ranching goals may go away if we can't continue to own the ranch. And so the business aspect of it, it's not as it's not as colorful and shiny as maybe some other aspects of the ranching lifestyle and the heritage, which is extremely important. But we think about everything with an economic mindset and take an economic look at every single enterprise that we do, whether it's our ranching business. We work very hard to analyze it with a pretty fine-tooth comb, but our science programs, our education programs, everything that we do, you have to be able to tie economics to it. And so from our perspective, even our research portfolio is all economically driven. We're going to tie back an economic value to everything that we're looking at. Wildlife species, game species management. We do a lot of work with endangered species. When you can tie economics to things, you can take a lot of the emotion out of it. And not that we shouldn't, but at the same time, when we're trying to analyze a decision that is going to keep us in the business for long term and keep us owning that land long term, sometimes we need to. And so being able to tie economics to it gives you that opportunity to really take a step back and look at something without an emotional bias to it, and know, is this going to help us reach our future goals?
Yep. Is there bias, though, in applicants? If someone from Texas Tech that has an undergraduate degree, do they just go to the bottom of the list or into the waste bin, or Dr. Machen, or are we? Is there prejudice against those Texas Tech students?
Yeah, so because of our ties to the Texas A&M university system, arguably the greatest university system in the universe, we discriminate heavily against those people that pursued a undergraduate degree in the state capital of Texas. Beyond that, we have no discrimination.
Okay.
That's all in jest. No, we've had students come from, as Garrett mentioned earlier, a variety of backgrounds, a variety of undergraduate experiences. And we have no bias against any of those. We've had one Canadian student come through the program. So as long as they've got an undergraduate degree and can demonstrate a passion and a commitment to animal agriculture, natural resource management, we're interested in them as a potential student. And I would just say, my closing comment, if there's listeners that are interested in, even if you're a junior, senior in high school, and you want to know more about the program, we are diligent. We will answer an email. We'll answer the phone if you call. And so if you got any questions, you want to know more about the program, email us, call us. Our contact info, you can find us on the web just type in King Ranch Institute into your favorite search engine. We should be the first thing that pops up. And the same for those that are out there working hard in the industry. If our outreach education component can be of service to you, or if you think you've got a project that you'd like us to help you with, same thing applies. Pick up the phone, drop us an email. I promise you, we will answer those, and we're interested in hearing from you.
Well, again, I want to thank you both for joining us. And as Dr. Machen mentioned, you can learn so much more about the program, resources, and outreach just by searching King Ranch Institute. I could say the letters because it's all acronyms for the website, but I'd mess that up. There's too many letters. We don't learn to read till 5th grade up here in Montana, I don't think. But I do want to thank you both for joining us. And again, we're just really, this is just the tip of the iceberg and all the educational opportunities that the Institute does provide its participants. And again, as they both mentioned, if you're interested in wanting to go to the next level in being a better ranch manager, a better business operator as well, and just so many more facets of the master's program, just check them out online. So I want to thank you both for joining us here today. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Lane. A pleasure.
Yep.
Appreciate all that NCBA does.
Yep. It's good to talk to you. I really appreciate it.
With that, friends, thank you for joining us as well. And to play us out, here's another message from our friends at Ritchie Waterers. I'm Lane Nordlund. We'll catch you next time.
The confidence of having water in front of these cattle all the time was very nice. Having good, clean water to our cattle every single day is something that we kind of take for granted, but it shows up in a lot of your breed back on every herd. Good, clean water every single day is very important for this operation to continue at a high level.
Ritchie, because hydration is everything.
Thanks for tuning in to NCBA's Cattlemen's Call podcast with Lane Nordlund. For more information, visit ncba.org and make sure to subscribe to the podcast today.